Hello! Thank you for joining us today. My name's Ben Wilting, and I'm with the Amarillo Public Library. This is part 7 of our 13-part series designed to help you obtain citizenship in the United States. Today we will be covering questions 55 through 63 for the civics portion of your citizenship test. Today all of the questions that we cover have to do with early American history. Stay tuned. Today, we will be discussing early American history and why it is important to the understanding of who we are as a nation today. Okay, so let's get started. In session 7 today, we're going to be talking about early American history. We're going to be covering questions 55 through 63. Again, that list of questions can be found down in the description on our Amarillo Public Library website. They're the same questions that you would find on the USCIS website, they're just in a little bit of a different order. That's because it's easier to teach this way. Okay. Number 55. Who lived in America before the Europeans arrived? American Indians or Native Americans? One of those answers is correct. Number 56. Name one American Indian tribe in the United States. You can see below that you have several to choose from. Aside from these, there's hundreds of smaller Native American tribes in the United States. If any of these you're already familiar with, perhaps Cherokee or Navajo, pick that one and study that as you study this question. If all of these are the same to you, perhaps pick one of the simpler ones, Crow, Creek, Hopi. Those tend to be easier to remember. Number 57. What is one reason colonists came to America? Freedom, political liberty, religious freedom, economic opportunity, practice their religion, escape prosecution. So in our previous set of questions, we covered the First Amendment, and included in the First Amendment is the freedom of religion. I mentioned how the original colonists came to America to escape persecution for their religion. So, to tie in with that, if you wanted to select religious freedom or practice their religion, that might be easier to remember because it ties into the previous questions. If one of these other ones sticks out to you, perhaps freedom, jot that one down and study that. Okay, number 58. Why did the colonists fight the British? High taxes, taxation without representation. British armies stayed in their homes, boarding and quartering. They didn't have self-government. So any of these reasons will be acceptable on your test. The big thing that the colonists were looking for was they didn't want to be ruled by the British without any say in how they were ruled. Okay, they were being taxed. They had armies staying in their house, and they didn't have any representation that was meaningful back in Britain. So they were basically controlled by the British without any say and that was the main reason why the colonists decided to fight for their independence. Number 59. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. He had lots of input from other forefathers, but he was the one who put the pen to the paper and wrote it down. There's a story behind that the reason they chose Thomas Jefferson to write the Declaration of Independence was because he had the best penmanship. He had the best handwriting. So when they all got together, they said, oh, Thomas Jefferson has the best handwriting, so he can write it down as we throw ideas at him. So if you can remember that little story that Thomas Jefferson has really good handwriting, you can remember this question, because that's the story at least. Number 60. What did the Declaration of Independence do? It announced our independence from Great Britain. It declared our independence from Great Britain. Or it stated that the United States is free from Great Britain. If you break down Declaration of Independence, you can see that in the title it says Declare Independence. It's very similar. So when you hear declaration, think declare. We declared our independence with the Declaration of Independence. On this next slide, you can see a picture of the Declaration of Independence. This is the document that Thomas Jefferson wrote up. And at the bottom, you can see a bunch of signatures. The one right at the bottom, in the center, right underneath the Declaration, if you look closely, it's larger than the other ones. That's John Hancock. He was a businessman of sorts in the early colonial America. From what I've heard, he was not well liked by the British, and him signing his name big and right in the center was his act of defiance against the British. He wanted them to know that John Hancock had signed the document, to, I guess, thumb his nose at the British. Okay, number 61. When was the Declaration of Independence adopted? July 4th, 1776. It is very, very important that you remember that year. July 4th, 1776. Okay. There's a question that comes later about Independence Day, and we celebrate that on every July 4th to remember the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So that's on July 4th every year. But it was originally signed in 1776. Number 62. What are two rights in the Declaration of Independence? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have to have two of those. Okay, so either life and the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, liberty or the pursuit of happiness. Any combination that includes two of those. Okay, number 63. When do we celebrate Independence Day? July 4th. A lot of times you'll hear people just say the 4th of July. They don't call it Independence Day, they'll call it the 4th of July. But they're the same holiday. The 4th of July and Independence Day in the United States are the same holiday. And remember, this one we celebrate every year. We celebrate Independence Day every year on July 4th. The first And what we're celebrating is when the Declaration of Independence was adopted, which was in 1776. So just make sure you keep these two questions separate. Thank you for joining us for part number 7. Join us next time for part number 8, where we will cover questions 64 through 73. See you next time.